Check one, two, three. Hey everybody, it's Michael Helms, also known as Michael the Sound Guy, and this is the Location Sound Podcast. You know, each episode we talk with location sound mixers, boom ops, and other industry pros about the various aspects of recording sound on location, whether it's for feature and independent films, TV commercials, interviews, any time where dialogue from actors is recorded. I started my career in the recording studios in New York City with some of the big artists back in the day, and later on projects for networks like HBO, Sci-Fi Channel, and the Cartoon Network. As time went by, I got out of the studio and began working in production sound. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, thanks for joining us. All right, my guest today is a production sound mixer based in southern Maine. He's worked on the TV series Survivor and on projects for MTV, National Geographic, HBO, and Vice. He's also a Marine Corps veteran. Please welcome Justin Lacroix.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Good to see you, man.
Hey, thanks for being here. All right, Justin, we always start off by asking, when you're mixing on set, what's in your audio kit? So tell us about your mics, your mixer, power distro, and everything in between.
For the most part, I keep my 633 in there, a couple SRCs. For hops, I'll just use like the UCR 100 Lectrosonics. That's pretty much it. Power distro is just like the blue NP batteries. Yeah, this seems to work pretty good. I use the SMWBs and the SMDWBs for transmitters. I just kind of switched over to those last year. I've been using 411s, but I travel quite a bit, so I wanted to get something smaller, just keep everything as tight as I can and light. I want it all to fit in a 1510 case, so I can have it with me at all times.
Well, what kind of shotgun mic do you like?
I got a 416 when I first started doing this, and that's what I use. Like, I still have the same one, but I use the MKH-50 for like interior stuff, but the 416 it's just so strong. Like, it's been through a lot. Cold weather, like it gets really cold up here and gets really hot up here too. So I really count on that quite a bit.
All right. And what kind of lav mics do you like?
I usually use the COS-11s. They're solid, you know, the cable's not all flimsy. I guess some B6s too, but I've had them break just from, like, they're so thin, you know. You know, I usually mount them with like the RMs, you know, little rubber things. Those, some top stick. Yeah, and they just work great.
All right. And what kind of timecode boxes do you like?
For timecode, I got Tentacle Syncs. They're great too, man. They're just like the old ones. I don't have the new Bluetooth ones or anything like that. I got them when they first came out. I think I got through their Kickstarter when they were doing it. It's like, man, those are cool. They're so small and they're relatively cheap. They work really well. And, you know, every time I break one out and the camera department sees one, they seem pretty excited that it's not some huge thing. Especially, I mean, but they're always like on Ronins or gimbals or easy rigs or whatever now. So it just stays out of the way too. That's appreciated.
Let's talk a little bit about Survivor, which was it shot in Cambodia?
Yeah, that one was in Cambodia. It was a little island off the coast of it, actually, called Koh Rong. So it was a 4-hour ride from Phnom Penh, something like that, down some crazy road with a crazy driver that got me there. I missed my flight, actually, out of New York to get there. And I got rerouted and all sorts of crazy stuff happened. I ended up getting there by myself, and I had this one single driver. And man, I'm glad he was driving, but it was terrifying. Just the speeds and motorcycles coming at you, and there's really no traffic pattern. Yeah, we finally get to the island 4 hours later, and then it was a boat ride out there. So it wasn't Cambodia, but kind of not.
So, well, tell us a little bit about the experience of working on Survivor. What were the conditions like?
For me, they were pretty great. I had like my own little bungalow thing on the beach. Everybody did, the entire crew. It was like 200 and something person crew. It was huge. You know, you'd wake up and then you go and get on the boat and go out to the set and just like do your job for 10 hours and go home, which it wasn't the easiest. It was, you know, a 20-foot boom pole extended the whole time, chasing people around and standing in the water, getting bit by things and all that. Yeah, man, but it was fun. I like that kind of stuff.
Now, did you wire the guys up?
No, they do that for like challenges only. Other than that, it's just like 3, I can't remember how many people they had per, if there was a certain amount of contestants on the beach, there was a certain amount of camera crew. So I'd like maybe 3 or 4 mixers out there, camera, ACs, and then the producers running around also. And it was just 302 strapped to my chest with a feed for the camera and the IFBs. And that was pretty much it. But you get you got to wear your rig pretty high on your chest because you're in and out of the water. And yeah, you're just booming the whole time.
So it's a wireless hop to the cameras?
Yeah, G3s. I think they're using G3s. And they're recording on, I don't even know what they're called. They're like CDs, kind of. This was a few years ago, so they might have changed by now.
Now, were you using your gear or their gear?
That's theirs, yeah. Which is nice, because in the salt water, I didn't really want to be jumping around and doing whatever, and you fall over in the tide and ruin everything. Yeah, so it was all theirs. It was great, man. This guy Sebastian, he was the tech out there, and everything was so squared away. Like the guy was on point. It was really cool.
Now, you guys, you said you were sleeping in like bungalows on the beach. How long were you actually there on location?
I think it was 7 weeks we were out there. So it's a 40-day. The show is 40 days. Now I want to say it was 7 weeks, and there was a few days, or there was a couple days beforehand. To get used to it and brief, which I was late for because I missed my flight. That just caused a bunch of crazy problems. And actually, when I first got there, this is nuts, man. My wife on the way out, she's like, "Don't eat any street meat." And of course, I'm like, "Yeah, no, I won't eat any street meat." And of course, I ate street meat. So on that crazy car ride in, or the van ride in I was telling you about. So I felt good the first day, and then that night, I started, my stomach started really turning, and I had to get to work the next day. I had to get on a boat and then go to set for the first day, my first day on Survivor. And I'm like, oh, this really sucks, man. I'm so screwed. You don't exactly call out sick or anything, right? It's just, everything's just coming out of all ends. And it was awful, man. I didn't sleep. And I got up, walked over to the boat, got on, and I'm cramping up, and it's hot, man. It was super hot, humid. Yeah, we're waiting on the cast to arrive. They came in on a boat, and I was just like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die today. This is the last thing I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna be the first one out on Survivor. The sound guy, right? But whatever, you just pull it together because you got to do it. And got through the first day somehow, and then the next day I was still sick, same thing. And on the third day, got through it and finally went to the medical place, and they gave me some electrolytes. I'm not a big dude at all. I'm tall and skinny. I probably weigh 150 pounds on a good day. And I hadn't eaten in 3 days, barely drinking any water. Yeah, I was in rough shape, man. But once they gave me electrolyte, I started feeling a little bit better. And I didn't want to tell my wife why, but I did eventually. And, I told you so's. So, yeah.
Man, so you said a 20-foot boom pole and you're just chasing these contestants around?
Yeah, they're just doing their thing. And then immediately right off the bat, they're just scattered. They're trying to find idols and, scheming. And yeah, it just nonstop until then they settle in. And then you're listening to them talk about their favorite TV show or whatever for 6 hours straight sometimes. And it's different. That was the only season I did on it. But yeah, it was fun, man. That was a really fun shoot. I met a lot of cool people too on that. Actually, there's this other mixer up here named Ponch, Mike St. Hilaire. And he's from Maine, and I didn't know him. He was living in New York City, but he grew up less than an hour from where I live. So it was weird meeting another Mainer out there. And there was a couple more too. Yeah, this guy, James Deemer, he's the one that actually got me on the show. I don't know, have you ever seen Deemer Box? You ever seen those things? They're Bluetooth speakers made out of a Pelican case. So that's his thing that he's doing now. He's not mixing anymore, but he got me on Survivor, so that was mad cool of him to do that.
I was just curious, like, did you have any like really strange technical challenges you guys had to overcome?
Keeping dry was a pretty big thing. Just that really, there's not a lot of RF to deal with out there for like, hops and everything. And when it would rain, you're just wringing your dead cat out, basically. Keeping dry was the huge thing. Like the 302, man, that thing's so solid that I didn't have any problems with it. That's all I can really think of for like technical stuff. Staying out of the camera, that was huge. Because there's like so many cameras on the beach and you're just like, man, I don't want to piss one of these camera guys off by getting in their shot.
All right. Well, let's talk about, you also worked on an MTV show called Stranded with $1 Million.
Yeah, that one was the year after Survivor. And that one was all wires. So it was the total opposite of Survivor. It was, man, how many cast members? We had 10 cast members and they're all wired the whole time. This guy, Stacy, he was the supervisor on it. He made all these necklaces, like I don't know, he just wove them or whatever. I don't know how he did it. And they fit a B6. Then the contestants wore those the whole time. You could kind of see them a lot in the shots, but that was, I guess, the look they were going for, is to have them be their remote on this island. And there's no one around and everything's filmed by drones and robocams. Yeah, that was a whole different beast, man. Dealing with the wires. Well, for one, like it rained for 2 weeks straight when we were out there. Hurricane Winston had just gone through there like a couple weeks before. For some reason, this cloud of weather was just hanging above Taveuni, Fiji for like 2 weeks. And even getting there was crazy. There was we finally get to Fiji, and then there's a little puddle hopper that goes to Taveuni once a day. I think it was once a day. And they were like, we're not flying today. We can't. And they couldn't. And these storms just kept coming through. So finally, I think after 3 days, we got to get there. I think we were a day away from shooting. Luckily, Stacy, the soup, was out there, and he had been working and squaring everything away. They were like making roads and stuff. They had been there for a while. So like they had to build infrastructure on that island just to get us around.
Well, tell us a little bit about what the show was actually about.
The concept of the show was, I think they were trying to do like their version of Survivor, MTV's version, and they had like younger people on it. And they were given $100,000 at their first camp, and then they were going to get another $100,000 at every camp with a little journey in between. So it was like, they're here, they camp out, and then 3 days later they go on a 2-3 mile hike, through the jungle or whatever. And then when they get to their next camp, they get another $100,000 in cash, like a pile of cash, huge pile of cash. It was comedic. The catch was that things cost a lot of money. Like a tent was like $60,000 or something, and like a cheeseburger was like $5,000. And anything that they wanted to bring with them, they had to carry. So they had to carry that pile of cash, and any cash they left behind wasn't theirs anymore. So at the end, they could get $1 million if they didn't spend any money, and they carried every single thing with them. And they spent a lot of money, man. Like it was crazy to watch. The show didn't do any other seasons after that. I don't know why. I thought it was fun to watch. I don't usually watch the stuff I work on, but I was like, I got to see how they put this together. It was good.
Yeah, now, was it noisy with the drones?
Yeah. I guess that's what I could say. They weren't flying drones all the time. So there was a lot of handheld. There was camera teams out there, and they were doing handheld. And they did have robocams rigged in the trees. They had like big drones out there, and they had these like little mini things that would fly in and deliver messages to them. Yeah, it was crazy, dude. So like, when one of the things that really sticks out is this time they had all got some kind of stomach bug at one of their camps, and they're all wired up, and you're monitoring them 24/7, and they all had diarrhea. And it had been raining, and we're all just like, you're stomping around in a giant mud puddle, listening to kids throw up and just poop everywhere. It was one of the grossest, that was one of the grossest experiences. I'm sure I probably stepped in something I shouldn't have. But, they recovered. They had to actually medevac somebody out of that one because she had her appendix ruptured out there. Yeah, man, they were they were in rough shape. And it rained on them for 2 weeks. I was going home at night, and theirs just stuck out there. You know, you'd hear it. You'd hear the clouds come in, and it would just dump rain all night long. And I started getting trench foot. It was crazy. Then one day, like, this was cool. I'll remember this day, and I'll remember this song forever because the rain just stopped. It was like Forrest Gump. It just stopped one day. And I got picked up after my shift and got in, the car, and one of the Fijian locals was driving us, and he had some reggae station cranked, and that Coming In From the Cold song from Bob Marley started playing, and I was like, man, this is so cool. It was just, I was just so happy when hearing that and knowing things were probably going to dry up. Plus with the storm, with Winston going through, the food situation was really bad at first for a while. Like I was living off of taro root and fruit snacks. Like one of the Minion movies had just come out, and we had this like huge pile of fruit snacks that had the little minions on it, and it was those. That's like what I was eating for quite a while because there was just nothing. The hurricane just ripped that island to shreds. It was crazy.
And where did you guys sleep at night?
We were at this resort out there, Maravu Resort, I think it was called. So we were doing pretty good. The guy Ponch, actually, he's a good friend of mine now. Him and I were roomies in a treehouse, like overlooking the whole thing, man. It was so cool. There was like 100 and something steps going up to our place, but he had half. Oh, I'm sorry. And there was one other roommate, this guy, Tim Mitchell. He was great too, man. So it was the three of us up in the treehouse for a while. Everybody had their little spots. The resort was cool. Everybody was really nice, man. Fiji's awesome.
When it's not raining, right? When
it's not raining, yeah. Even then, like, that's the thing I like about this job is I like that stuff. Like it's hard, and when you're in the moment, you're like, man, this is pretty crazy, but it's also kind of fun. We had a 788 with 10 411s. No, we had SRBs, and then we switched to 411s later. It was kind of cold when it would rain, so I'd have my poncho on, and I would like hug my rig, and it would keep you nice and warm, and the rain's just ripping down all around you, and like the river's just rushing. It was super cool. I just loved it. Except for the trench foot part. That was making me nervous.
For people that don't know what trench foot is, tell us about that.
I might even be wrong about it, but I'm calling it trench foot. It's my feet were just wet all the time. So like you start getting these weird, it's like fishy and like these weird pits and stuff, and your feet kind of hurt. I don't know, you sit in a bathtub for a long time, how your hands get all weird. That's just happening to your feet. You can't really dry out when it's raining all the time. And you get back to your place and you put your socks on the air conditioner or something to try and get some air blowing through them, and your shoes to dry up, and put a hair dryer in them or whatever. Yeah, I should have had some muck boots. So I'll remember that next time if I ever get in a big rainstorm.
Sounds like a fun one.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Now, you've also worked on some narrative projects. So what was your favorite so far?
My favorite narrative projects are the ones that my friends are shooting up here. To be real honest with you, man, they're so cool. My friend Charlotte Warren, she's awesome. And she was doing a movie a short for this festival they call Damnation Land up here in Maine. And it's a bunch of collection of horror films. Yeah, so I saw her post on Facebook. She was looking for something, and then I had a gig booked over the dates that she was shooting it, but I was like, oh man, I gotta find a replacement because I just want to go do this with her. So volunteer on it. I just like her that much that I wanted to. So it's fun because you're like with your friends, and you're doing something creative, and it's going to be shown on the big screen in a few months, kind of thing. And I really like to jump on shorts that my friends are shooting as far as narratives goes up here. And I've done a couple movies with bigger budgets that came through Maine. This one called To Keep the Light was great. Erica Faye came up, and she was super. She wrote it and directed it. It was like a period piece, and we were out on an island off the coast of Rockland, Maine for like a month. Yeah, it was about a month.
How many actors were you working with?
It was pretty much her and this other guy, Auntie Rennie, from overseas somewhere. They call him the Harrison Ford of like Finland or something. So he was cool. He was a really cool guy. And then they brought some other people in. David Patrick Kelly was there, who was the dude. The only thing I really know him from is The Warriors. At the end, he's the guy with the bottles, and he's like, "Warriors, come out and play." That dude was there, and I love that movie. So meeting him was pretty cool. So we weren't staying on the island we were working on. We were taking a boat, or boats, lobster boats, in fact, back and forth. And so you're dealing with tides, coordinating getting there with the tides was kind of a problem. But, it all worked out. It's, things go wrong, but as long as everybody's not having a crappy attitude, then, you do it, and it's fun. And you make a movie, man. It's really cool. I actually had my 633 go down out there one day, which was crazy. I still don't know what happened to it. I just tried to turn it on, and it just didn't come on. I did the hard reset and everything. And I'm like panicked, So I had a backup, not a 633. I think it was like a Tascam or something. Luckily, it was just an easy scene. There wasn't really any dialogue. It was more like, wild sound kind of stuff. And I'm like freaking out. And I called my buddy James Deemer. So he's a good friend of mine now. He's kind of the guy that got me in this whole business, right? I owe him a lot. He was like, I'm not working for the next however long. He just got back from a huge shoot. He's like, I can get you a 633. I'll get you my rig there. Just tell me what I need to do. So my friend Andrea, who was she was coordinating a lot of stuff out there. She knew everybody also. And another friend, Sean, was coming up from Portland, and she got it. So he would pick it up and bring it up, because it was like a 3-hour drive from Portland. He had it to me within 3 hours. Like, Sean grabbed it and brought it up, and I had a whole new rig, and everything was great, man. Like, totally saved the day for me. And I'll remember that for sure.
It's great to have friends like that, right?
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Well, how did you get started in production sound? I
kind of got started later. So, like, out of high school, I joined the Marines, and that was almost 5 years of my life right there. And then I got out and just kind of floundered around for a little bit. But I was always, I always liked mixing like music and everything. I'd have a couple turntables and I'd spin hip hop, I like doing all that stuff. And I just was painting houses, and my wife, Bethany, was like, man, you should really use your GI Bill. You should go to school. So I wanted to do something with audio, and I thought I was going to go record bands in a studio. Like, that was kind of the initial end game. And then I took a film class, and not a lot of people like doing the sound part. And I was like, man, this is really cool. I might get to go places, and I might get to meet cool people. My teacher, Corey Norman, was awesome, man. He really he was shooting a feature film, and I didn't have any experience, and I was free labor. So he's like, you want to do the Hanover house? I'm like, yeah, man, that's cool. So he put me on that, and it was awesome. And that's it, really. That's kind of how I mixed. I mean, before that, I was PAing. I started out as a PA, for one. Like, I kind of worked my way up into that. I keep bringing James's name up because he was huge in my career. Whenever I was PAing and James was on set, I'd always try and find him and attach myself to him somehow. Or he was always really cool and oh, Justin's going to be with me today. So I would just ask him questions. I was just telling this story to my class the other day. So I was on set with him. It was a US Cellular commercial, and James was mixing, and I was a PA, and he needed someone to hold the boom. I was so excited. Yeah, I grabbed the boom, and I was holding it up, and I thought I was the coolest person on set right then. It was magical almost. This sounds so corny, but I remember that day. It was this awesome summer day, and I was boom up, and I was all that James Deemer's boom. It was so cool, man. Yeah, and then every time I saw him from there, I would just try and learn more, that kind of deal. Then I bought my own gear, and I would do smaller projects, just corporate sit down interview type stuff. Yeah, I bought a 302 and a 702T and a breakaway cable, and the 416. That was my first setup. I still have all those things.
Now, do you recommend people renting or buying when they're getting started?
I don't know. For me, buying seemed to really work because I just wanted to have it. Like I wanted to have my own stuff. I thought that was really big, just to be able to mess with it on my own time too, learn some more stuff. Renting, I've had it happen. I've gotten like a wireless transmitter and been like, man, this thing, I don't know what happened to it. And it's just not turning on, and, that kind of stuff can happen. But then again, I do still rent gear if I need to. Like, if someone wants 10 IFBs or something crazy, I don't see the reason to buy 10. I have a few, but it's an investment in gear. Unfortunately, with audio, it's not like camera department where you're just, man, they got to keep up with some crazy stuff. There's always something new coming out. I mean, there is with audio too. Things are getting smaller, there's all sorts of different time code boxes now and all this stuff. But finding what works for you, maybe rent and then buy.
No, that's cool. Yeah, people don't always know what to do, so it's always good to hear everybody's different viewpoints.
Yeah, buying is I think it's more beneficial than renting. You at least buy something basic. Yeah, a recorder and a boom and some kind of power distribution too, just to save money on batteries and all that stuff. You can rent wireless, however many you need, and just add that to your rental fee. And
all right. Now, you had mentioned, we discussed that you were in the Marine Corps, so thanks for serving, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
But how was your experience in the Marine Corps, and how did that influence your approach in working in production sound?
So I was lucky, man. When I was in the Marines, I was an electrician. So I didn't see combat, anything like that. So props to those guys that really had to go through some crazy stuff. I was stationed in California and in Japan. Both really pretty easy duty stations. You just kind of do your job, and I would take care of generators, diesel engines, that kind of stuff. I guess for one, having the GI Bill to go to school, that was massive. But then also, it's just the discipline involved. Having to be on, when you're on, you're on. You're paying attention, and to be mentally capable to stay cool under really bad situations sometimes. Because on set, things can go kind of crazy, or people can get real demanding. Things needed to happen yesterday, and you just got to keep your head on your shoulders and focus on what you're doing. That was huge, because at 19, I was kind of a mess, and the Marine Corps straightened me out for sure. So I don't know if I'd be able to handle some of the stuff that comes my way on set if it wasn't for that kind of discipline that was driven into you.
That's good stuff. You also built your own sound cart. So tell us a little bit about your cart.
I saw a picture of myself. This is how it all came about. I saw a picture of myself showing up for that class last year. And I was walking through the doors, and I've got 1510 getting wheeled behind me, a C-stand in one hand, boom in the other hand. My rig's slung over my shoulders. This is like a total mess. I was like, man, that's not a really good example to be showing up looking like that. And then, that's how I was rolling into set. Park your car, get all your stuff, and it's everywhere. And it was frustrating to try and navigate the streets with all that. So I just wanted a solution. And I was looking around, and there's other carts. There's the Zuko or Zucco. I don't know if you've seen those. People are building carts out of it. I think they're for disc golf. So that's the thing. But I'm not playing disc golf. I'm going to set to record sound. So I wanted something that was kind of mine, my own design. So started looking around, and the folding mag liner, I came across that. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That would fold up. And I drive a Prius hatchback, so I just needed something that would fold up and fit in there. And it worked out, man. So I got that, and we started thinking. My buddy Josh was huge on that. He helped me brainstorm some good stuff, like the French cleats on the bottom. And I want everything to be able to detach, but also stay put. So it was a lot of kind of researching how I wanted to do it. I found these little push button hood things that go on race cars. So the back of the Pelican can drop into the French cleat, then it slides and clicks back into these two little knobs that click into the hood latches. So I can just push the buttons and it comes right off, and I can take that case if I got to get on a boat or something, and I want my gear with me, then it just comes right off. There's the truss clamps on the side. to hold like just one boom and a C-stand. That's like all I really need. Everything I need gets transported to set. I don't look like a total mess, and it's there. It's good.
Now, if we wanted to see a picture of that, where can we see that?
I've got on my Instagram account, Maine Sound Mixer, there's like a little picture on it, and also under like the stories thing, there's kind of like a story. But yeah, if anybody's ever interested in, I don't have a diagram because it was kind of, there's a few extra holes in that cart, put it that way, trial and error. But I'd be happy to answer some questions of exactly how it got built. It was not really a complicated build. Pretty much anybody can do it.
All right. One of our listeners' favorite questions is, what was your worst on-set experience?
Physically, the worst experience I had was that episode on Survivor with the food poisoning. Man, that was so rough. I think of it, and I don't know how I got through that. Well, actually, one of the contestants that got there was also very sick too, on the same day and the same time. Like you can't talk to them or anything, but she was going through the same exact thing that I was going through. And that was almost comforting in a way. That sounds kind of messed up, but it's so true. I was like, oh, she's hurting, she's out here, so I can do this too. I'm going to go home tonight and sleep in a bed. She's going to sleep in the sand. So that, yeah, definitely like physically that was. I did another movie out here. I had a really rough time with one of the actors on there. He was a real jerk, put it that way. He was just so difficult to work with. It was like some days he wanted me to just mic him up and not talk to him, and some days he wanted me to like, you got to tell me when you're doing it kind of deal. It was like this constant power struggle. It almost seemed like he was looking for someone to just pick on. I was the guy for that show, and I know other people that have worked with him, and they were like, oh yeah, he was a total jerk to me too. So I don't know why you'd want to do that to somebody, because you're all out there and you're supposedly a team, even the talent, everybody. But whatever, you get up, do your job, and go home at night and try and forget about it. I haven't forgot about it though.
All right, so have you ever forgotten any gear when you were going to set?
Yeah, listening to this a lot, I hear a lot of boom pole, right? That's kind of a thing. So I've definitely forgot a boom pole. One of the other things I forgot the dead cat one day, and I didn't think it was, I kind of knew I was almost a set, and I was like, oh crap. I think I was like doing a puppet show for my kids or something. Just like left it on the floor. Got there, and I was like, yeah, I probably won't need it today. And of course I need it. It was windy, super windy out. And we're doing like this long walk and talk thing. And, I got the boom up. It wasn't sounding good. I could hear it. I could totally hear the wind. And I was bumming out. No one had, who has an extra dead cat in their car? No one. So what I did is I took the Zeppelin down, and then I just taped up the holes on the bottom, and then put some tape on the back, just in a couple spots I thought were problematic. And, that worked out. It was fine. The wind died down, fortunately. And, we got through the scene, and it sounded great. So the dead cat, now I just keep it on there all the time. No more puppet shows.
Now, being a dad and having to be away a lot, how do you work through that?
They're used to it. That's all they really kind of know is my job, is that, sometimes I just go away for a little while. Having FaceTime, we're in a pretty good era right now where I can FaceTime every day. I can at least do that and talk to them, see them. So that's been huge. So also, if I do go away for a long time, I'm also able to stay home at lengths of time. Wintertime slows down a little bit. Might have a couple weeks off, and I'm just a stay-at-home dad for a couple weeks, and that's great. So I get to spend days on end instead of just going someplace every day and doing, I'm just home at night. But I like having that whole realm of seeing them throughout the day instead of just at these certain times. Time off is time off, and I'm with my kids, and that's great.
When you're out in the field, what are the expendables that you like to use the most when miking up talent?
I use a lot of top stick. That's been great. I just got a thing of hippo tape. You ever use that stuff?
I haven't.
Oh, it's pretty cool. It's thicker top stick. It's really neat, man. And it's good. So I noticed I work a lot in the cold, being from Maine, and top stick, man, if it gets to a certain temperature, it just it loses its stickiness. Yeah, I was just trying different things, and hippo tape, man, that stuff's it's great because I can like really squeeze it on to the inside of a coat or whatever it is. That's great. Just last week, I was doing this documentary shoot up here, so it was already 20 degrees out in the morning in Maine, on the coast too, and we were about to go out on a oyster boat to an oyster farm, and the wind was ripping like crazy. The wind chill was just nuts. And the top stick wasn't doing its thing, so I pulled that stuff out, and it worked great. It just held on. So I threw that on the back of one of the, I think it's LMC that makes them. It's basically an RM, but it has like the fuzzy thing attached to the top of it. Yeah, and it sounded great, man. I was actually kind of impressed about how good that stuff works. Because I thought I was screwed, really. I'm like, this is just gonna be all day long. It was awesome, man.
Okay. Now, if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice about being in production sound, what would you tell yourself?
I still, even now, like I've done a lot of shoots, man, and I still am learning things. So that's probably a bit of advice that I would give is like, just you're never going to know it all. You're never going to know every single thing because every day is different on this job. You're in a different location and, different talent, different crews all the time too. So just like stay aware and mindful of what you're doing and take it all in and ask questions. If you don't know the answer, it's okay to like reach out, find someone that does.
Yeah, no, that's good. A lot of like all these Facebook groups and sound forums and stuff, people are asking all the time, like, hey, I've got this shoot coming up and I was looking for what plant mic should I use? And everybody just, starts throwing out ideas and recommendations. And it's the same kind of thing in life. It's like, yeah, it's always good to reach out. And, we don't always know, like we might do it this way, but somebody else has, well, hey, I tried a mic like this. And you're like, hey, I never would have thought about that. It's always good to ask.
Yeah, it would help me out a ton too. I was doing whatever shoots and then getting on a shoot with another mixer, and you can like kind of geek out on your kit and talk about some stuff and actually just seeing how somebody else does it. Survivor was great for me because it was, for one, it was like all boom, and learning how to swing a boom it's a skill that you should have as a mixer. These guys are amazing out there. They've been doing it forever. It's watching and listening and learning from other people.
All right. Well, Justin, as we kind of start to wrap things up, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I like Instagram. I use it a lot. So Maine Sound Mixer on Instagram is me. My website is waveswarm.com.
Well, I was checking out your site. It looked good.
Well, my wife is a web designer too, and she's pretty good, man.
All right. I want to say thanks to Justin Lacroix for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks, Michael. I appreciate it, man. This was really cool.
And a big thanks to all of our listeners out there. If you'd like us to discuss a particular topic, please send us an email at locationsoundpodcast@gmail.com. We would love for you to subscribe and leave us a comment. We're available on Apple Podcast, and for Android users, check out Google Podcast. Also, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, remember, sound is half the picture.